From London, I'm Rochelle Travers, and this is The Standard. After a 6-year hiatus, Celebrity Big Brother UK is back.
They can run, but there's one place they can't hide.
Once one of the biggest shows on television, it previously ran for 17 years and gave us a whopping 22 series, featuring iconic moments such as the US reality star Tiffany Pollard mistakenly thinking a fellow housemate had died, non-celeb Chantal Houghton having to claim to be in a girl band called Candy Floss, and the recently elected Rochdale MP George Galloway acting like a cat on all fours. In fact, quotes from CBBUK are still used frequently today. Just think of Jackie Salone's, "Yeah, it's Jackie," and Gemma Collins screaming, "I'm claustrophobic, Darren!" This time around, names such as Sharon Osbourne, Louis Walsh, and even Kate Middleton's uncle, Gary Goldsmith, are in the house. But can this new version deliver on the reality TV gold of its predecessor? And does a show like Celebrity Big Brother even have a place in TV in 2024?
This is Big Brother. Can Emily Phillips please come to the diary room?
I'm now joined by Emily Phillips, Associate Editor of ES Magazine. CBBUK returned after a 6-year hiatus last night. Who are some of the biggest names from this year's contestants?
I mean, I think in terms of the headline spinner, it's going to be Gary Goldsmith, who is the Princess of Wales's uncle, kind of black sheep of the family. Definitely not who the Middletons want to be seeing on the telly. Definitely not who Kate is going to want to be watching while she's recuperating, I would think. To be honest with you, even though they're throwbacks and they're both 71 and quite doddery, Sharon Osbourne and Louis Walsh will probably be the kind of heart of the show. Even though Sharon's only paying a flying visit, I think that they are going to be kind of worth the £500,000 they've both been reportedly given for appearing. It's not greatest lineup of celebs, I would say. Nikita from Strictly, he's got all the charisma, he's gorgeous. He's obviously riding the wave of being in the final of Strictly with Leighton Williams. But, you know, he's a dancer, he's not the celebrity. So that'll be interesting to see how that rides. You know, we've got a lot of the kind of people that have been on the celebrity hamster wheel. You know, David Potts from Ibiza Weekender, who's done all the sort of celebs go dating, that sort of stuff. Ekin-Su from Love Island. And then you've got, you know, your older stateswomen, Fern Britton, who, to me, I feel like with Sharon Osbourne as well and Louis, maybe you probably didn't need all three of them. And I think Louis and Sharon work so well together that maybe, you know, they've over-indexed on the kind of like older TV category, perhaps.
You've written a piece actually for The Standard about like the contestants this year, and there's not a lot for Gen Z, is there? Like, there's no one on the lineup that's really screaming out for them. Maybe Ekin-Su, but that's about it.
Ekin-Su obviously has that kind of Love Island kudos, and, you know, people really loved her, and she's kind of got all the little, you know, catchphrases, and she's, you know, she's a character. So I think that people will attach themselves to her. David Potts from Ibiza Weekender, I mean, he's the kind of Towie-esque, you know, he's been on everything, celebs go dating and whatever. So I'm not sure whether he's Gen Z though. Like, I would say he might be young, but I don't feel like he appeals to that heartland. I think he more appeals to like 30-something kind of Huns. So yeah, maybe Bradley from Heartstopper. He might be the only one, and maybe Nikita actually from Strictly. But yeah, I'm not wildly kind of thinking that Gen Z are going to be that happy with the lineup. It's quite old.
And what did you think of the actual launch show? Did it do enough to get everyone hyped for the new series?
I mean, I definitely feel like the hosts have got that energy and spirit that Davina and Dermot used to have back in the day. So I feel like they've got the hype machine going. And the house looks glossy and the lights and the pyro are great. But it's whether the names themselves were kind of top billing enough to make it stick. So, you know, there was excitement from the crowd. The crowd looked older than they used to. You know, I remember them being, when I was watching it, like when it first started back in 2001, I was kind of in my late teens. So it would have been people like myself going down there, you know, and trying to kind of be in the crowd. And now it just feels like it's kind of like a crowd of 40-something men. I'm not sure. Don't know who they were. But, you know, obviously they love the show. So, yeah, I don't know if I felt like there was that kind of energy and excitement out there kind of standing by the gangway as people walked in. But, you know, I think now we'll have to see on social media what the kind of figure is.
Yeah. Do you think that part of the reason that it wasn't that sort of excitement that there used to be is because we kind of knew who was already going in? Most of the names had already been leaked to the papers, and it was quite clear once they were sort of entering the house that they'd all already met. Like there was a bit of a gaffe where Louis Walsh was like, "Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing Sharon," and then, and then AJ tried to cover it and was like, "Well, maybe she won't be in there. What are you talking about?" And it's like
literally next up. I think they are like best mates, so it's fair to assume that they would talk to each other, obviously. But I mean, they've all been staying in the same hotel. It's not a cover-up. They've really done a kind of poor job of keeping it secret. You know, these things do get leaked. They obviously place the story probably, early doors with, a paper to try and get some kind of like visibility out there. But to be honest with you, they needed the hype machine to start early in order for people to tune in, because otherwise, they're hedging their bets on people like Coulson from Coronation Street, who obviously has a big, fan base from Coronation Street. But it's like, are they going to want to watch him on Celeb Big Brother? I don't know. Like, we'll have to see how he is. So yeah, I don't know. There was definitely no secrecy. Everybody kind of knew everybody. Also, when they put Louis and Sharon into their little secret lair, it was like Louis was doing a running commentary of who everyone was. And he was like, there's Fern Britton. Oh, she's been on telly for ages. She won't know anyone. There was a lot of him doing the exposition. And then I realised that actually they had cards in front of them that kind of had headshots on. Yeah. So I was like, actually, it's not that he's revised the whole cast list. It's that he actually kind of has a few notes in front of him. But when they have their get-to-know-you chats, it's like, I saw you last week at blah, blah, blah. And obviously they know.
Yeah, I saw you yesterday at the hotel.
Yeah, exactly. I saw you yesterday in my hotel room. Yeah. That would be much more intriguing.
Yeah. Let's go to the ads. After the break, we take a trip down Celebrity Big Brother memory lane and discuss whether the show has a place in TV in 2024. Welcome back. Still with me is Emily Phillips, Associate Editor of ES Magazine. Celebrity Big Brother is still one of the most iconic reality TV shows that we've ever had in the UK. Were you a fan back in its original run? And if so, what were some of your favourite moments?
Yeah, I definitely was. I was really, really into Big Brother as a concept. And, as I said before, I was kind of in my late teens when it first started. So, I think the first celebrity iteration was in 2001 when I went to university. So we used to watch it together. I think kind of it reached its peak for me around the sort of Pete Burns era, Preston from The Ordinary Boys getting together with Chantal, who wasn't a real celebrity, and, all of that stuff that happened in that series. I also think high points wise, it's a terrible shame because obviously I love David Bowie, but the moment where David dies.
David's dead.
And when they're going around going, David's dead, thinking that David Guest is dead, was like TV gold that they could not have pre-planned. Like they couldn't have understood what was going to happen in that moment. And that was, just pure like perfection.
Yeah. I think for me, that series in particular with like Tiffany Pollard, Gemma Collins, I think a lot of people, like we still quote that even now on like social media. There's memes going around of, Gemma Collins saying, I'm claustrophobic, Darren, and all that. So it'll be interesting to see if it's able to repeat any of that sort of reality TV gold, really.
Yeah.
In its original run, though, as well as obviously giving us these like moments of humour and everything, it did have a lot of controversial moments as well. Are you thinking that it might be the same like this time around just because that's the nature of it? Or do you think that, TV has changed and the sort of rules and things in place will kind of prevent those things from happening now?
I think that people are a lot more media trained. They're so aware of how things read for them that they don't commit those gaffes in the same way. And even though, people are kind of going to have to relax because they're in there for a number of weeks or whatever, they will never fully switch off. Like they're always going to be a PR machine for themselves. And also because so many of these people that are in there have come through structured reality formats, they really basically live in this kind of like altered state where they are able to kind of come out with these kind of one-liners and tidbits, and they know how to act in certain situations. Whereas before, you definitely had a more naturalistic response from people because they just kind of weren't aware. I mean, obviously, by the end, by 2018, they'd been through like 21 series of Celebrity Big Brother. But, in the early days, people weren't that used to what it was going to entail. And they kind of did find it arduous, and they did get stressed and tired and, acted like they would at home when they were stressed and tired. And, were a bit Mardy or George Galloway-ish and becoming a cat. The less said of that, the better.
Yeah. the new Rochdale MP, everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that CBBUK has a place in TV in 2024? Because obviously reality TV has moved on. TV itself has moved on. Reality TV might not be as popular as it once was, maybe except for the Traitors. Do you think that it can be a success and sort of, be as good as it once was?
I mean, I think Traitors is an interesting example to use because obviously that's more of a kind of game show format, but actually part of the Big Brother charm was that it did used to have those twisted kind of gamification elements. So actually if they can kind of use those, which they've got the secret lair at the moment, but let's see what other twists and turns they have. They can use those to kind of surprise the celebs. That will hopefully provoke some good responses. But as I said, celebrity, I said it in my piece, but celebrity has basically eaten itself in the space of, Big Brother and Celebrity Big Brother existing. In that time, we've had the creation of actual kind of like reality TV, the tabloid journalism that followed that. And then we've kind of gone through the structured reality era alongside social media. And now we're at a point where social media means that reality concepts are basically in each celebrity in inverted commas, in their own hands. Mm-hmm. So you've got people like Zizi Mills, who's gone in the house, who is actually a kind of cultural commentator who's kind of from Instagram and TikTok. But, she's never been in front of a camera really in that sense, of a larger scale thing. She's really been holding that camera herself and being in charge of the narrative. So that'll be interesting. But I don't know. I don't know whether Celeb Big Brother can be its own authentic old school self in this landscape. I think it needs to kind of, recalibrate and kind of find some of those little tricks that it had and make them for 2024.
You can read more about this story and others in the Evening Standard newspaper or on our website, standard.co.uk. This podcast will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m.